This video is about modeling a simple character with the magic number 8. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a cylinder. And with my cylinder selected, I will go to its inputs in the channel box, and I will set its subdivision axis to 8. For me, when modeling, 8 is a magic number. It provides enough roundness of the form as well as being easily divisible. In this video, you'll see why. This cylinder is going to be the torso of my character, so I'm going to add 6 sections to the subdivision height. I will make a few adjustments to my cylinder by making it a little taller and then making it a little wider in the front view. So this is the beginning of my 8-sided torso. I'm going to select the caps, or the top and bottom, of this cylinder, and I'm going to delete them because I will not need them. I'm simply inverting my selection and deleting. On the side of my cylinder, on my torso, I'm going to select 4 quads, and I will delete them. This will be where I will attach the arm. Take note that by deleting 4 quads, I am left with 8 edges. Remember that 8 is a magic number. This will provide a perfect opening for attaching another 8-sided cylinder as an arm. I create my new cylinder and set it to 8 sides. I'll need to rotate it into place. While not necessary, I sometimes like to go into the Rotate Tool settings by double-clicking on the tool. And then I set the step snap to either relative or absolute. This will allow me to rotate in exact increments, in this case 15 degrees. This will make it very easy to rotate my cylinder 90 degrees. So I'm going to scale it down, move it into place, make it longer by scaling, and finally I'll go into the component mode and grab the vertices at the wrist and taper them in. This will give the arm a little more form. There's one other thing that I need to do before attaching it to the torso. I need to get rid of the cap at the shoulder of my arm, of the cylinder here. So I'm going to select those faces and delete them. Now in object mode, I'm going to select both the torso and the arm, go to my modeling tool set, and I'm going to combine. This will make the 2 meshes into a single mesh. Now with my 8-sided arm and my 8-sided open, I can easily select their edges and bridge them. You will find the bridge tool in your modeling tool set or tool kit. I'll add 1 division just to add a little more geometry to the shoulder area. And I will move on to the waist area of my character. And once again, I'm going to create a cylinder, but counterintuitively, I'm going to rotate this cylinder 90 degrees. You'll see why in a moment. Once again, I will set my cylinder to be 8-sided. In addition, I will add 4 subdivisions to its height. I will take that cylinder and decrease its radius slightly. And I'll make the cylinder longer by scaling it. I'm scaling it on its y-axis. With this cylinder selected, I will go to the Deform menu. Under the Deform menu, you will find, under Nonlinear, the Bend Deformer. Notice that when I apply the curvature to it in the channel box, that it's not deforming on the proper axis. But if I rotate the deformer 90 degrees, it'll now bend on the proper axis. I'm going to set the curvature to -90 so that it creates an inverted U. Notice that I can move the deformer up and down to tweak the deformation. This is where the legs will be extruded from. I don't want them too far apart. And now with my mesh selected, I will go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. This will get rid of the deformer while keeping the changes that I made with it. And now I'll select the 4 quads on top of my mesh and delete them. Remember that this will create an 8-sided opening, perfect for attaching to the torso. So I will move the hips into place, select my 2 meshes, go to my modeling toolkit, and combine. Now I can select the edges on the torso and hips, and I can bridge them. Once again, I'll add 1 section for a little more geometry. When modeling, I'm constantly making fine-tune adjustments. Here I'm going to make a few adjustments around the waist area to define the form a little better. You have to make these adjustments based on your own good judgment. Now I'm going to select the faces from the area that I'm going to extrude to create the legs. By turning on symmetry, I can make changes to one side and it will make the same changes, it'll mirror the change on the other side as well. I just want to bring the legs a little closer in together. Turning off symmetry, I'm going to actually just select the faces for the right leg. And I will extrude them, dragging the handle downwards. And like the arm, I'll taper it towards its end. As you can tell, I'm only modeling half of the character. This is because I'll be able to mirror it to create the other half later. Selecting my multi-cut tool in the modeling toolkit, I'm going to add some more divisions to the leg. In this case, I'm adding them as edge loops. And while I'm at it, I might as well do the same for the arm. I'll make a quick fine-tune adjustment to the arm, making it a little bit longer. And then once again, using my multi-cut tool, I will add some edge loops to the arm. Right now I'm only adding 3 edge loops. As I said, I only need to model half of the character. I'm going to go ahead and delete the one half of the character that I don't need. I will now create the foot. To make the foot, I'm going to start with a cube. And with my cube selected, I will go to the channel box, to its inputs, and I will set the subdivision width, height, and depth to 2. Remember that if you select 4 adjacent quads, you're going to have 8 edges. I'm going to select the faces at the top of my cube and I will delete them. I actually haven't deleted the cap on the leg yet, so I had better do that now. I'll make a few quick adjustments to the heel of the foot. I will combine the 2 meshes, and I will bridge the edges. Once again, I'll make a few quick fine-tune adjustments. And now I will select the 4 faces from which I will extrude to create the foot. Extruding the foot. Adding some divisions. And moving on to some fine-tune adjustments. Yay, my character has a foot! A couple quick adjustments to the arm. When creating cylinders, the caps tend to consist of triangles. But with our magic number 8, if I delete 4 edges, my 8 triangles will become 4 quads. I'm going to select those 4 quads and extrude them to start creating the hand. I'll add a few divisions to give me geometry to give the hand a little more shape or form. And I'll do a few more fine-tune adjustments. And here's where it gets a little bit tricky. I need to create 4 fingers. Using my multi-cut tool, I'm going to add 2 edges here. I'll press Enter to complete. And I'm going to add 2 more edges here. And press Enter to complete. Take note that the face that I am selecting now is not a quad. It has 5 edges. This one also has 5 edges. This is not ideal, but we will resolve that very easily later. This area here will be where the fingers will be attached. I'm just going to straighten these edges a little bit. And I will make a few more fine-tune adjustments. And now I will select the two faces where the pinky will be attached. And I will do an extrude. This time I'm going to scale my extrude. And I will do the same thing for the ring finger, the middle finger, and the index finger. You might be asking, why not just extrude each of the fingers out? And the fact is, this would be a perfectly acceptable solution to the problem. I prefer this solution, which I'll explain in a moment. And now I'm just going to round out and tidy up the areas where the fingers will be attached. Once again, I'm going to select the faces where the fingers will be attached. I'm going to pull those faces slightly out, and I will delete those faces. So why not just extrude them out and create the fingers that way? My thinking is that the four fingers are very similar to one another, so why not just create one of them, shape it, and then duplicate it 3 times to create the other 4. Up to this point, 8 has been our reliable friend. But this time we need help from our good buddy number 6. I'm going to make this cylinder 6-sided because that's how many edges I have on the openings for the fingers. I'm going to scale my cylinder down and roughly start putting it into place. Notice that if I select the edges on one of these openings for the fingers, I have 6 edges. That's why I made my cylinder 6-sided. Remember to switch from your different viewports. Look at your models from the top, the side, the front, and the perspective viewports to make sure that everything is actually placed where you need it. I'm going to make the finger taper, and I'm going to rotate it slightly so that it will better match up with where it's going to be bridged to the hand. I used a 30-degree rotation. Now I'll use my multi-cut tool to add some more divisions to the finger. I will also start making some fine-tune adjustments to the shape of the finger. This is why I prefer this method of creating one finger and then duplicating it 3 more times. As 3D modelers, we're always trying to find smart shortcuts. Notice that with the 6-sided cylinder, I can delete 4 edges and end up with 2 quads. Don't just hit the delete key, however. Go to Edit Mesh, Delete Edge Vertex. This will assure that no stray vertices are left behind. Once again, I'll make a few fine-tune adjustments. I'm going to select the finger and move the pivot point to the base. In a moment, I'll be doing some scales that I'll want to happen from this position. Now I can quickly and easily duplicate this finger to create the other three. Positioning them in place, I can scale them so that they are the right length and size relative to one another. And of course I'll need a thumb. So now I will select the four fingers and the body and combine them so that they will be a single mesh. And once again I'll be making some fine-tune adjustments. Mainly thinking about how the fingers will attach to the hand. I want to bridge the fingers onto the hand, to connect them to the hand. But I've forgotten something very important. I need to get rid of the caps at the base of the fingers. I need to get rid of those faces. And with the caps selected, I will delete them. And I will now go through the process of attaching the fingers to the hands by bridging them, by bridging their edges. And after finishing the bridging process, I'll make a few fine-tune adjustments. Looking at the geometry I have for the thumb, I think I'm actually going to delete it and create it from scratch. I'm going to select two faces and delete them where I will attach the thumb. And I will create another cylinder, which I will make six-sided. I deleted two quads, so I have 6 edges. Setting it to 6-sided, I will scale it and roughly put it into position, as well as do some light modeling to it. In addition, I will add a couple edge loops. Roughly giving it a thumb shape. I will delete the faces at the cap. Position it a little more. Select my two meshes and their edges and bridge. And once again, I'd like to re-emphasize that the fine-tuning process you see me doing is really just a matter of using your best judgment. Once again, I'm going to select the 4 edges at the cap, and I'm going to go to Edit, Delete Edge Vertex, creating 2 quads. The process of fine-tuning your mesh is really constant throughout the process. Now my character has a hand. After further thought, I have decided to add some more edge loops on the arm. This will be for deformation purposes as well as for fine-tune modeling later on. I will do the same to the leg. Exiting component mode and moving into object mode, let's take a look at our mesh. Notice where my pivot point is. It is not in the middle of my world space. If I were to duplicate, notice where it is going to mirror from. This is not going to work. What I need to do is move my pivot point. I'm going to move it to the middle of my world space. This way it'll duplicate and mirror correctly. Notice that I can simply duplicate the mesh and then mirror it -1 on the x-axis, and I get a perfect mirror of my character. Now that I have the left and right sides of my character, I will select the two meshes and I will combine them. While the two sides now make up a single mesh, the vertices down the middle of my character are in fact not merged. I need to select them, go to Edit Mesh, Merge Vertices. I like to periodically press 3 on my keyboard to see the mesh in smooth mode. Pressing 1 returns it back to its normal state. Notice that I've got a lot of history on my mesh. Periodically, it's a good idea to get rid of this history by going to Edit, Delete by Type, History. To complete my model, I need a head. I'm going to select the area around where the neck will be created and start fine-tuning it. And while working on the neck area, I noticed that the shoulder area can also use a little bit of attention. I'm using symmetry so that I can make changes to one side and have it happen on the other side as well. To begin creating the neck, I'm going to simply select the edges and extrude them up. I'll add a division to add a little bit more geometry to the area. And to create the head, I'm going to start with a cube. I'll create the cube and roughly put it into position. Do a mesh smooth to add a little bit of geometry and to round it out a little more. And start to scale it and place it into position. I'll select the 4 quads at the bottom of this head, and I will delete them. Notice how I can use my scale tool to straighten up these vertices at the bottom of the head. Remember that I deleted 4 quads at the bottom of the head. This gives me 8 edges. I'm going to combine the head and the body, and I will bridge the edges. And now back to that constant process of fine-tuning my mesh. I'll start to define the head shape a little more, as well as refining the neck area. Do you remember earlier when I changed my rotate tool settings to step snap? Well, now I don't want to use step snap, so I'm going to go back to the rotate tool settings and disable it. I'm going to turn step snap off. I'll also start adding a few more edge loops in the neck and head area. I'll take a quick look at my character and see areas where I feel like I need to fine-tune the geometry. And I will make some of those fine-tune adjustments. And here's what my character looks like now. While it's a very generic character, the geometry itself is very solid. The strength of this mesh is that I can shape it and form it to become all sorts of different types of characters. Do you remember when I was working on the hand? I told you that there was one problem that I would address later. Here we have some 5-sided polygon faces. But watch what happens when I do a mesh smooth. Notice that that 5-sided polygon face becomes 5 quads. For the needs of my character, this is really a wonderful solution. And now I have a mesh that should deform well, and that I can further customize and shape into any body type I wish. I'll be demonstrating that in a future video.